love Scorpio. Fixed water, ruled by Mars. And I would love for you to start if you'd like.
Sure, I can start. They get a bad rap sometimes, Scorpios, for being formidable people.
I like the word formidable.
I don't think Scorpio really minds being called formidable at all.
No, not at all.
Scorpio would wear that as a badge of honor, to be seen as intense and formidable and deep, right? So still waters 100%. Run deep. So Scorpio is this nexus of depth and intensity in the zodiac. They like to know everything about everyone. They're the ultimate detectives and investigators. They're always looking beneath the surface of things to find the hidden mechanics, hidden motivations, hidden drives. I think they really thrive on learning all of that about the situations they're in, unless it doesn't interest them, and then it doesn't matter. But they're incredibly powerful. They have sort of this wellspring of power that you don't, it's like the Energizer Bunny, but it's a slow burn. You don't know where it's coming from, but it just keeps them going over long periods of time. It's just incredible reserves of energy, extremely resilient. Really formidable opponents in any kind of tense or difficult situation, not because they're like Aries, they come out charging and yelling on the surface of aggression, mostly because they're more tactical and they are thinking 12 chess moves ahead at any given time, and so can be somewhat hard to outwit because they do take a long view and they are looking at all the different factors that might be at play in certain situations. Very strong. They're known as being somewhat sexual. We need to have the sexy beasts among us. They really, so just deep, powerful, tactical in business. Feel like they can really figure something out and get things moving, and are not afraid of transformation. In some ways, their lives are always going through transformation, so it's not something that scares them. They don't seem to have much fear about things that other people might or other signs might be fearful of. So if there's change and transformation staring everyone in the face, and some people are quaking in their boots, I think Scorpios can really run with that and just dive right in and also help other people. If the Scorpio brings you close to them, you're kind of gilded in a way, because they are not necessarily trusting of everyone. And if you're in their camp, they are incredible allies to have. So.
I think we may have had more same words used for this one than any that we've done so far. I had intense and deep very early in my list for sure, and just a lot of the things that you mentioned. But additionally, and also just in some ways to reinforce some of the things that you said. But smart, and it comes from that intensity. It comes from that intense presence and that depth, that they can be amazing listeners, and from that place can come a certain kind of intelligence. And I think as well of the fixed water, it's like they're incredibly emotional, but it's very controlled. So there's really a lot of emotion there, a lot of emotional depth, but in some cases you might not know that. They might not always show that to everyone. But I love the word transformation instead of change. I think Geminis like change. Scorpios like transformation, and it's different. And a lot of times Scorpios will have distinct periods in their life that are completely different. Like they might grow up one way and then have a whole middle stage of their life that's completely different. Different people, different culture, different work, like completely unlike anything before. And they might do this more than once. Just completely transform their lives. Very intuitive, very focused, passionate. Yep, the sexual side of Scorpio for sure. Sort of enigmatic because of all this intensity to them. Powerful relationships because of their intensity. I think a lot of Scorpios can be big on personal growth and spiritual growth, and very sort of wise and spiritual in that way. And resilient. Another word that you used is the last one I have for the light side of Scorpio. And I think that resilience is really what makes them the resilience and the transformation are so connected because they don't mind suffering a little bit if it means transformation. And I don't think most signs would agree with that. If you said, hey, this is going to hurt for a while, but you'll be better on the other side, a lot of people would be like, I don't really want to do it. If they were honest with themselves. People don't really want to be uncomfortable, even if it means growth. But a Scorpio right away would say, yeah, sign me up. It's okay. And so that makes them resilient because that Scorpio energy understands that that's part of the process and they're not afraid of that.
Right. Well, the shadow side, I have a few things. That personal power and that love of, I think there's a love of being powerful for Scorpio. They kind of like having personal power. It can tip into a thirst for power or, some manipulative tendencies with other people to consolidate power. I think that detective quality that they're so good at investigation and looking beneath the surface can become an obsession at times to know other people's secrets or to know everything about someone to the point of obsession. And one of the flip sides of that is that Scorpio, I'd say for the most part, doesn't really want to be seen, unless they trust you and they're not necessarily a trusting sign off the bat. They would love to know everything about you, but would be happy for you to know nothing about them, which can cause a problem in personal relationships. Perhaps Scorpio is dropping just a half-truth about themselves or in an effort to sort of get you off of their trail a little bit. So that lack of trust, it really comes down to a lack of trust, right? It's this basic suspicion sometimes about certain people or certain situations can get them into hot water in terms of relationships. I think Moon and Scorpio especially, there is such a sexy quality to Moon and Scorpio, and Scorpios in general have such sex appeal most of the time. I mean, you meet a Scorpio, they sort of like draw attention to themselves just by walking into a room. They have a certain vibe about them. That sexy vibe can, in some situations, become undoing in terms of bringing in sexual vibes where they're not necessarily warranted, where they might stir up trouble. That doesn't always work in someone's favor, right? It can cause havoc in the wrong situation, expose them to possible danger at times if they're, very attracted to a certain situation because of its charged sexual nature or its forbidden nature, which Scorpio can be drawn to forbidden things that can put them in situations of danger.
Yeah, that's so true. That shadow side of Scorpio is intense. I don't really think that secrets is the right word exactly. There's a hiding and a privacy that Scorpio wants that can be difficult for people trying to get close to them and difficult for them because, they don't trust easily. They are a bit slow to open up. And I also think that Scorpio has very high standards and a long memory. So there's all this suspicion but a real desire on the light side, a real desire for incredible depth of intimacy in relationships. So they really want this incredible depth of intimacy, and they're just looking really closely for any sign that there might be a problem. I guess there can be a fear of rejection or a fear of abandonment as a part of that desire for intimacy. Once you are in with a Scorpio, it can sort of be triggered, that fear of rejection and abandonment, because they also have a strong need for control. And so, I wrote sensitive to deceit and manipulation, right? They're very keenly aware of all these different things that could potentially be wrong in a relationship. Also, I think sometimes Scorpio can be a bit serious. It's not the lightest of signs. It's good for them to do things that are a little bit more on the light side. Watch some stand-up comedy, do something fun and light. Eat an ice cream cone, They take life so seriously and they want to go so deep with everything, and it can be a lot sometimes for them and others.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is interesting how there's a reputation with astrologers that I'm sure you know about, but maybe someone listening to the video would be interested too, that Scorpio stuff is way more searched online than other.
That's so interesting. wonder if people are trying to figure Scorpios that they know, right? Because
people are trying to figure them out. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening with this person?
Yeah.
Well, and maybe they're trying to figure themselves out too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think the word privacy was really an excellent word when we were describing like what's usually described as secrecy. Privacy is a great word. Scorpio might have a secret life, as other people might. Maybe they're slightly more prone to having a secret side, but privacy is an excellent word. The only other thing that I would describe or call kind of a low point of Scorpio energy is when it's not functioning well, or doesn't feel well, or feels threatened. Like, it can be very sarcastic and very cutting. Scorpios are really instinctive at knowing someone's weak spot, and they can really take someone down a few notches with just a few words, or just hit you where it hurts with words. I'm not thinking physically. I'm thinking mostly with words, or with lack of words, with silent treatment, or they just know how to do that and effectively.
Yes, a Scorpio could cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that I just said Scorpion, actually, because maybe it's worth mentioning the Scorpion archetype. And I've heard also that it's connected with like the phoenix, right, rising from the ashes, and even just sort of like an eagle flying above and looking down, like a lower manifestation of Scorpio is that scorpion, just like attacking anything that gets close, basically. And then eagle sort of version of Scorpio is just soaring above, kind of looking down, taking it all in, having that broader perspective. And then the phoenix is that transformation energy where they really can almost like ascend in this lifetime. They are very smart and wise. What are your highlights and lowlights for Scorpio?
Yeah, my highlight is really their power of healing and regeneration. So if you think of a scorpion, they can just let go part of their body that's either hurt or being held in the claws or jaws, something else, and just continue about their lives. And Scorpios are incredible at coming through the storm, as it were, and continuing on their way without looking back. They're incredible at regenerating whatever part of themselves that they've lost and healing themselves. And it's magical. They're a magician in many ways in terms of their powers of healing, both for themselves and for those that are really close to them. They can help them move on and let go and heal. Well, not let go, maybe not let go, because Scorpions do remember and don't forget things, but they can move, in very enviable ways. Shadow side, there's a penchant for secrecy/privacy doesn't always work in their favor when they're trying to relate closely to someone. That instinct to be very private or to not reveal very much is one of the strongest. Can work. It's a virtue. It's a great battle tactic sometimes, but in terms of day-to-day life and family and relationships, it can really come to bite them in the butt, I think, when they don't reveal, they don't reveal too much of themselves or just keep a part of themselves private. That can hurt to not feel like you can reveal part of yourself because you're afraid of what that might mean, or it might make you seem weak. So I guess that's a few ideas bundled into one, but sort of the same idea of just keeping things under wraps, which can boomerang to not work in your favor.
I agree with these things, and I think it's interesting how sometimes a low light can sort of be a highlight, and a highlight can be a low light. Like for the sort of one of the most difficult challenges for Scorpio I had, that sometimes they can almost move toward challenges. Like they like transformation so much that they can almost move in a way that like brings it on. And it, they do have such tremendous resilience, and they are able to learn and grow. And so there's something really wonderful about that too. And it sort of goes with my highlight, which is that, Scorpio is such a tremendous observer of the world, great listener to other people. so they can really know you and know the world. And that willingness to confront it and to get to know it, even if the world and other people aren't going to get to know you, is a wonderful thing, and definitely a highlight of the Scorpio energy, I think.
Mm-hmm.